In 1960, the first year of the Housing Board, the first 5-year plan was drawn up, calling for the building of 51,031 housing units by the end of 1965. And by the middle of 1965, the target had been exceeded. Well over 400,000 people, a quarter of Singapore's population, has been rehoused in the last 5 years in these bright, modern, airy flats. Nowhere in the world, except in Russia and West Germany, is the rate of rehousing faster than in Singapore. As part of the board's celebrations to mark the completion of the first 5-year program and the solving of the housing shortage, an exhibition was held on the site of the former Outram jail. Plans and models were on display illustrating the board's new projects for the next 5 years. By far the most stimulating and exciting is the far-reaching scheme to rebuild a new city on the site of the old dilapidated buildings and unhealthy slums. This is how the new Singapore will look. Multi-story blocks of apartment houses, commercial houses, restaurants, hotels, theatres, shopping centres and markets. Roads planned so that traffic can flow smoothly even when the number of cars and lorries has increased fourfold. As Prime Minister Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, "The people of Singapore demand high standards of their governments, and they are prepared to work hard and are capable of high skills. For them, the sky is the limit." Singapore is acquiring the one hallmark of a great civilized community: magnificent buildings plus comparable workers' housing.
Survive alone. If we delay merger, every one of us, no matter what you are, worker, hawker, clerk, technician, businessman, all will suffer. There'll be less business, there'll be less profits, there'll be less pay and less jobs.
Kuan Yew was so convincing. After 12 talks, he was able to sway the nation and influence them when we were accepted into Malaysia in 1963. We had to celebrate 31st of August as Malaysia Independence Day because we were part of Malaysia. I was happy because I believe in what Lee Kuan Yew said. We could not, at that time, survive without Malaysia.
On this moment when we signed this agreement which severed Singapore from Malaysia, it will be a moment of anguish. I mean, for me, it is a moment of anguish because you see the whole of my adult life, I had believed in Malaysia, in merger and the unity of these two territories. You know, as a people connected by geography, economics, and ties of kinship, would you mind if we stop for a while?
There's nothing to be worried about. Many things will go on just as usual. But be firm, be calm. We are going to have a multiracial nation in Singapore. We will set the example. This is not a Malay nation, this is not a Chinese nation, this is not an Indian nation. Everybody will have his place. Equal. Language, culture, religion. And finally, let us really Singaporeans reunite, regardless of race, language, religion, culture.
In February 1967, the Singapore government announced that they would introduce national service to boost the numbers in their armed forces. It was introduced at a time when the fledgling nation felt strategically exposed in the region. And so on the 17th of July 1967, the first batch of 900 NS men were enlisted. Members of that first intake and their army trainers talk about that experience and the impact that national service had on their lives and on Singapore as a